Stanisław Karlamow, the hidden face of M1 challenge, the man that decides about fighting. How exciting is being the person that decide about so many important things?
Great cardinal, yeah. So I just don't know, it's just something that I like to do, that I did even for free. I would be ready to do it for free, but I'm getting some money for that, so I'm quite happy.
Mm-hmm. What for the people that would like to be matchmakers, what kind of person you should be, or what knowledge should you have to be in a position like this?
I think like the main thing is you need to really love MMA, you know, and especially on the level that you will be working. Because, you know, one thing is to be a fan of UFC, follow only UFC events or something, but if you work on some certain level, some local level, in local organization, of course you need to follow the potential fighters for your own level, for your own organization. So that's why for me usually it's more interesting to see some Polish events, for example, than some UFC second level events, yeah.
And speaking about that, in Poland many people, I don't know if in the world or in Europe is the same situation, but in Poland a lot of people keep asking themselves who's number 2 in the world or who's number 1 in Europe. Those two for you. What do you think? Of course you're the company man, you're M1 representative, so it's a difficult question. However, if you have as a fan, if you have your own private preference, could you tell me this?
Oh, but you mean in which weight class?
I mean as a promotion. As a promotion.
As a promotion?
Yes.
You know, to be honest, you know, my judging criteria is the level of the events and also the amount of events, yeah. Because, for example, when it was Legend promotion, for example, in Russia, maybe you probably heard about this, yeah. So they did 2 very big shows and created some hype around them, and people were like, "Wow, that's new Russian #1 and maybe like 2nd organization in the world and stuff like this." But you know, as long as you are not keep on doing that, yeah, people are going to forget you very fast. And you know, their last big show was about 1.5 years ago, so they still keep on talking that yeah, they are #1, but it's difficult to keep that talk, you know, when you don't promote anything.
Of course.
So yeah, they did great in the first 2 shows, very good shows, a lot of the guests, but it's only 2, yeah. Mm-hmm. So with M1, you know, the thing that is good, that it's not only we are making some good shows, we are making them on a regular basis, yeah. We have some contractual system with the fighters, and also the thing that I like as a company man and just as a fan, that we have 2 matchmakers, yeah. So I'm not the only person who is responsible for matchmaking. Mm-hmm. I'm responsible only for the foreigners, and our second guy, Alexander, he's responsible for all CIS region. Mm-hmm. So, you know, for me it's always better to see that Europeans and Americans and Brazilians win. For him, it's the opposite. So it creates, you know, some stable situation.
Yes.
Not that we have some guys to promote, to throw some weaker opponents to them. We've never had this situation. So we always are trying to make it as much competitive as it is possible.
I'm really surprised by you saying this, because usually it's about promoting our own stars. Usually, so. Good to know. We have an M1 Challenge 57 tomorrow coming up. Is there any fight you are expecting more than any other fights?
Oh, maybe it would be fair to say that, yeah, main event. Of course, main event is great because it's champion versus champion, first time in promotional history. I love to see it, and for me, I'm speaking absolute true if I'm saying it's 50-50 for me. I really don't know who's gonna win. Nobody has an advantage for me. And even as a person, you know, because I can tell you that in Russia, a lot of people, they love Marcin and they love Stefan. So I think even the fan base will be divided like 50-50, really. So it's really interesting. But other than that, I can say that I love the fight card as a whole. And of course, especially main card, you know, all 5 fights I'm really looking forward to. And in the undercard, you know, in the undercard we have, if I remember right, we have 3 amateur world champions there in MMA. So that's the new generation of the fighters that we are expecting to see more and more on the professional level. So I think fans of MMA, they should keep their look on that, especially considering that it will be for free. Undercard will be shown for free, as far as I know, at YouTube, so everybody can watch it.
Okay, we have some new Polish names like Bartosz Hirek. Of course, it's a second time for him in M1. Are there any new names? You don't need to specify the names if you don't want to, but are there any new coming players from Poland?
Oh, of course, as you know, there are always some Polish names coming up. Yeah, some new talents. So we stay in close contact with Polish managers, with Łukasz Basacki, with Marcin Osoliński, with everybody. So we just work all together, and when some good talent comes up, I'm always in contact with Łukasz. He always helps me. Hopefully I help him to promote some of the fighters too. So I think, yeah, Polish fans, they can expect more new Polish faces in the future on the upcoming tournaments, for sure.
That's obviously fighters want to fight as much as possible. M1 doesn't have to complain for lack of events. There are many events, I would say a lot of events for M1. But of course, it's a first fight this year for Marcin Tybura. He's a champion. Damian Grabowski also is not happy about fighting not too often. What is the reason for a situation where guys that want to fight, they can't fight as often as they can?
It depends, you know, on the situation with every fighter, yeah, from one person to another. But yeah, for example, with Marcin, you know, I can say that he is undisputed champion. Yeah, it's quite difficult to find some suitable opponent who would be the real contender, who can really compete with him on so high level. So, and that's one of the reasons why we did champion versus champion fight.
I agree with champion reason.
Yeah, but yeah, and again, you know, from one event to another, there are some different situations, some different guys that we need to put. That, you know, it depends. It's like in UFC, like everywhere, yes, somebody has like 3 fights in a year, somebody has less fights. But for example, with Marcin, I can tell you that we did everything as it was stated in the contract. Yeah, so he's been fighting 6 times so far for 2 years. So it's been, you know, according to the schedule.
And is there when we speak, because I asked you about 2 heavyweights actually, is this a new world trend that maybe it's even more difficult for in other words, I need to use other words. I truly believe there's a new trend that in the past there were more heavyweights, and now everyone is cutting weight to become lighter fighters, and maybe that's one of the reasons why heavyweights fight less often.
Oh yeah, this is, yeah, I think I agree, it's another reason. And you know, actually even back in the days, you know, to find some really good heavyweight, it's not easy task, you know, anywhere. Because true heavyweight, I mean, because in Russia we had some guys like, for example, Maxim Grishin, who used to be fighting heavyweight, and he was about like 97 kilos, but it's not real heavyweight. It's light heavyweight who just doesn't want to cut 8 kilos. But now he finally made this right decision to go down. Yeah, but you know, somebody likes to fight in heavyweight. For example, when I was talking with Maro Perek from Croatia, he prefers some of his fighters to fight in the heavyweight because, you know, he told it's some bigger opportunities, sometimes bigger money. But yeah, it depends from one situation to another. But one thing I know for sure, that, you know, to find even one very good heavyweight, it's not easy, and convince him to fight for your organization, make a contract, and to find some real heavyweight division, it's even more difficult. For sure, everywhere. I mean, not only M1. You can take a look at UFC, yeah. So Cain Velasquez, he's been injured for a long time, yeah, and still there is no true contender except Verdum, yeah, who's been waiting for some time.
And finally, is there anything for the fans interesting that should be aware of that will happen in near future for M1? of course, you're the matchmaker, so I believe this will be something around matchmaking, but maybe there's anything specific you would like to mention.
I can tell that for example, we're gonna come back to China in September 3rd probably. So there should be another big show, and hopefully maybe the presidents of Russia, of China will be there. It's still very raw, but we were working on that. And about matchmaking, like always, we are trying to find somebody, and including Poland, of course. So some of the guys that we've been already working with, we're gonna bring them back, like Kamil Maron and maybe somebody else. So we will see. So I think there should be a lot of good matchups for Polish fans. So they should follow. They should follow our events.
I'm not quite a fan of mixing two champions together, obviously because one is lighter, the other one is heavier. I would say that's one of the most important reasons. However, what's the situation in Russia? Is there any issue with having more successful and interesting fighters at this point?
So if we're talking about like some possible lack of Russian fighters in heavyweight categories, it's just going by spiral. Sometimes we have a lot of them, sometimes like next couple years we don't have anybody and stuff like this. The situation changed in every division from one year to another. So at the moment, I can tell that there are not so many already established Russian heavyweights and light heavyweights who can compete on the highest level. But you can see there are not so many of them in UFC, for example, too, from Russia. So far there have been mostly some lighter categories like lightweight, featherweight, even bantamweight, and up to welterweight, I guess, something like that. That's where there are the most of Russian guys. But as I told you, we have a very good stream of new talents in amateur MMA, for example, because amateur MMA is on a very high level in Russia, and as you can see, the world champions, also most of the Russian guys who become the national champions, they also become the world champions. It reminds a little bit the situation with wrestling, with freestyle wrestling, for example, like when for most of the people in Russia, for most of the wrestlers, for them it's usually more difficult to win national championship than even world championship because of higher level of the opposition. So yeah, some good new talents, they are growing. Some guys, they are coming back. So talking about some upcoming fights, I think in the nearest future we're gonna have the comeback, quite interesting comeback for me, of Mikhail Gazaev. He used to be world champion and amateur, and I think some of the people, they remember him by his fight with Konstantin Glukhov when he was working on the ground like all 3 rounds, and then he won by disqualification. But now he went to the coach who is very well known as a striking coach. So it's quite interesting to see what's gonna be in this situation, how he's gonna look like when he will make his comeback to the ring.
So thank you very much for honest answers. Good luck tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.